Hey, welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Let's build a cheap string trellis. In this day of need for food and maximizing space in your garden, one way you can do that is by growing vertically. You can grow plants vertically, you can grow them along wires like these grapevines behind me, and that will give you the ability to put more plants in the same space than if you let them sprawl. So what do you do if you don't have the money to go out and buy a trellis system? What if you don't have the money to buy a fancy tomato cage? What if you don't have the money to go out and buy, a big system for your pepper plants? I grew pepper plants last year in a system that was recommended to me, and I liked the system. The only problem with it is, man, it costs money, and I'd rather invest my money in other things. So what I'm going to do today is build a string trellis out of some TPosts that I already have on hand and some cheap jute twine. In my junk pile, I have all these TPosts, and all these TPosts are from various trellising projects I've done over the years. The benefit of these TPosts is they're steel. They last virtually forever. You get 400 or 500 years out of these before they rust away. But I've also got these kinds of things. These, posts you can buy down at the Home Depot. These are very handy to have a few of these around. I will do trellis cross pieces with these as well, and they last a little bit longer than your bamboo lasts. But then you've got bamboo. I've got a bunch of bamboo spikes. These bamboo stakes that you can buy down at Home Depot as well. I've got tons of these sitting around. Over in my junk pile over here on the back, you can see there's a bunch of trellises from years in the past. Some of them are still tied together. In fact, I used one from last year that was still tied together in a teepee to put in my potted beans. You can use this stuff. These are going to be my cross pieces for the upper half of my bean trellis. Here are some other options. You can go and purchase these tomato cages. They're pretty expensive though. I have several of them, but if you had to put a bunch of tomato cages on a bunch of tomatoes, that's going to cost you a lot of money. This stuff right here is called hog wire. You can get a roll of hog wire and trellis up a lot of stuff on this. You could spread this between two T-posts and you have an instant trellis. That's an old cage for a dog. I use that for trellising. I also use it for keeping cats out of my garden. So you can be creative. You can think and be resourceful and think, okay, what can I do with the things I have? What if you just have a bunch of sticks and deadfall? Got these suckers from my Bradford pear tree. These things grow nice and tall, and they grow nice and straight. It's like almost a cane. It's almost bamboo. I could trim these out of here, and I'm going to have to, but then I could make use of them. You can see that the plants, the natural vines already use them to climb up. This is an excellent resource. If you've got a bunch of suckers coming off your ornamental trees, cut them out and use them for trellis material. With a T-post, you want to drive it in so that this flat little anchor gets into your ground. Now, my ground is dense enough where I only go about halfway, and there's enough density in my soil that this is going to be securely set. All right, so you can see that's about almost all the way in. That's not going anywhere. You'll notice a T-post has these little teeth, and these are designed to hold things securely in place. And when you tie a knot, it's just a real easy matter of cinching it up at the right height and tie your knot. Now I'll stretch this out across the other side. These beans will have something to grab onto as soon as they start growing up.
Bring it. Bring it.
And they will grab on themselves. But as the plants get taller, you can just put them up through there, and they'll grow up these strings. Now these strings don't have to be taut. They don't have to support a lot of weight until this plant starts getting bigger. I'll show you what I'm going to do next. I'm going to put some bamboo poles across to support the weight of the plant when it gets higher. Okay, so it's a couple days later. I've let my beans grow a little bit to show you a little bit of how to trellis them. But the strings are good until you get about to this level where the plants get real heavy. I've added some bamboo. You could add whatever you want. You could be real creative and source stuff, sticks from your trees, old lumber, old posts that you bought for trellising up your tomatoes, whatever it is. I've got bamboo stakes on hand, and so I'm going to make use of what I have on hand. That's the whole point of this trellis, is it's a trellis that's made cheaply out of stuff I got on hand. Here is the final product for now. Blustery, windy day, and I've put my, you can see these beans, they just pass through. I pass them through the string strands there, and just work them through as they grow up. And eventually, once I put on a couple more bamboo poles at the top, this whole thing will be a wall of lima bean plants. And look how much space it takes up, 1 foot by 4 feet in my garden. Yet this is going to be pretty much a double wall. These guys will get all the way up there and come all the way down. So that'll be a nice little dense bunch of beans right there. Simple, huh? And practically free. Think about supporting your plants, the weight of the plant plus the weight of your fruit. If you've got a watermelon and you're trellising that watermelon up vertically, you can do that. You got to think about ways to support those fruits though when they come in. I've seen people use pantyhose or expandable mesh bags like your potatoes come in. I've seen them use those as well, and they'll tie them off to a strong part of the trellis and let the fruit grow in that bag. So yeah, think about the weight of your plants. In our quest to be resourceful, finding native materials and stuff we have on hand is always a good thing to do for making trellises. There's virtually no limit to the things you can make a trellis out of. I follow a guy named Jan, and his channel is called Small Garden Quest, and I really appreciate how he gardens. He uses pretty much the square foot method, and the square foot method is especially good for beginning gardeners who have the resources to put in a 4x8 bed or to follow Mel Bartholomew's square foot gardening book. And that's a good method. That's how I started. I started with a square foot gardening method. I had 3 4x8 beds, and I built a string trellis for my first batch of lima beans that I ever grew. It worked fantastic. But Jan has done a fantastic job of making a beautiful arch trellis out of things that he had on hand. So go check out his channel. I'm going to link it below. I'm going to link it in, I'll link it up there as well. And go check him out. What he's done over there is actually fantastic. It's quite beautiful. And I think his channel deserves a whole lot more subscribers. So go hit him up and subscribe. You can see several days later, I've been trying to keep these guys to keep their hands to themselves, but sometimes they want to wind up on each other. But I've trained them up through all these strings. It keeps them orderly, keeps them going vertically. And once they get up here, you can see I'll start wrapping them around these bamboo poles that can support their weight. You can see this guy's already kind of starting to find a pole to grow on. And yeah, man, that's how you trellis beans. Really easy. Couldn't be more easy. So there you have it. Trellises. DIY trellises from your own pile of junk. You can do it, and it'll help your garden, it'll save space, and it'll give you healthier plants. Give it a shot. Hey, follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook. Go check out Jan's channel, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.